I flipped out on my son's school after they lied to him about donation prizes. My kid's in fourth grade and his school is doing this weird half-open thing where they only go in on Mondays. The rest of the week he's just home with me doing whatever. And I'm not talking about actual virtual school either. No Zoom calls, no teacher checking in, nothing. They send home worksheets and the next Monday the teacher just asks if they did them. That's it. You say yes, you get participation points. You don't even turn the work in. It's the dumbest system I've ever seen. And I have no idea how these kids are learning anything. But every single Monday, without fail, we get a new flyer begging for donations. It's always something. Last week, they sent home this donation drive flyer that said, if you email 20 people asking for donations, you get prizes. The more people who actually donate using your kid's name, the bigger the prize. My son saw the headphones on there and completely lost it. He wanted those headphones so bad. Here's the thing, though. Nowhere on that flyer did it say how many donations you needed for the headphones. Just showed the prizes and said, email 20 people. So I called the school office to ask. The secretary told me 12 donations would get him the headphones. 12, I wrote it down and everything because I wanted to make sure. I sent out all 20 emails to family and friends. I felt annoying as hell doing it, but my kid was so excited. 14 people ended up donating. 14 more than the 12 we needed. My son was bouncing off the walls all week talking about his new headphones. He kept asking me when we'd pick them up, and I kept telling him Monday. Monday comes and we walk into the school. There's a table set up with prizes and a couple teachers standing there with clipboards. We get to the front and give them my son's name and ID number. The teacher looks at her list and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, but he doesn't qualify for any prizes." My son's face just drops. I'm confused, so I ask what she means. She says, in order to be eligible for prizes, you needed 20 donations first. The prizes started counting after you hit 20. So, if you wanted the headphones, you needed 12 donations on top of the first 20. 32 total. I looked around and almost every kid was walking out empty-handed. Parents were mad. Kids were crying. My son just stood there staring at the ground, trying not to cry in front of everyone. I told him to go wait outside with his dad. Once they were gone, I pulled the teacher and the principal over to the side. I told them straight up that what they did was messed up. You got these kids excited about prizes, had them beg their families for money, and then pulled the rug out from under them. These are 9 and 10-year-olds. You just taught them that trying hard means nothing and that adults will lie to their faces. The principal tried to cut me off, but I wasn't done. I told them the secretary specifically said 12 donations for the headphones, not 32. 12. I called and asked before we did anything. They both just gave me this look like I was being difficult. And the principal goes, "I'm sorry you feel that way, but this is just how things are right now due to CO." That made me even more mad. I said, so lying to students is okay because of CO. Crushing their spirits is fine because of CO. You're only open 1 day a week. You don't do virtual learning the other 4 days like every other school in the area, but you have time to ask for donations every single week. That makes sense to you? The teacher looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. The principal just stared at me, so I turned around and walked out. My son cried in the car on the way home. He kept saying he did everything right and I didn't know what to tell him because he did. He did exactly what they asked. My husband said I was being a Karen, that I should have just let it go because life isn't fair and our son needs to learn that. He said I made us look like those helicopter parents who freak out over everything, and now the school probably hates us. I didn't care. I was still mad about it 2 days later. Then yesterday a package shows up. It's addressed to my son. Inside are the headphones and a note from the superintendent. The note said, "I'm very sorry for the actions of the school system and the confusion formed around the donation drive. We are trying to work with the families, not turn them away. Please accept this as an apology." My son ran around the house screaming when he opened it. He's been wearing those headphones nonstop since yesterday, even though they're not charged yet. He just likes having them on his eye. Flipped out on my son's school after they lied to him about donation prizes. My kid's in fourth grade, and his school is doing this strange half-open system where they only come in on Mondays. The rest of the week, he's at home with me doing whatever. And I'm not talking about actual virtual school either. No Zoom calls, no teacher check-ins, nothing. They just send home worksheets, and the next Monday, the teacher asks if the kids did them. That's it. You say yes, you get participation points. You don't even have to turn the work in. It's honestly the dumbest system I've ever seen. I don't know how these kids are supposed to be learning anything, but every Monday, no matter what, we get a new flyer begging for donations. It's always something. Last week, the flyer said, if you email 20 people asking for donations, you get prizes. The more people who actually donate using your kid's name, the bigger the prize. My son's eyes lit up the moment he saw the headphones on the flyer. He wanted those headphones so badly. Here's the catch, though. The flyer didn't say how many donations were required for the headphones. It just showed the prizes and told us to email 20 people. So I called the school office to clarify. The secretary told me we needed 12 donations to get the headphones. I wrote it down to make sure. I emailed 20 family and friends asking for donations, feeling a bit annoying, but my son was so excited. 14 people ended up donating, more than the 12 required. My son was bouncing off the walls all week, asking when we'd pick up the headphones. Monday came, and we walked into the school to find a prize table and a couple of teachers with clipboards. We gave them my son's name and ID number, but the teacher looked at her list and said, "Sorry, he doesn't qualify for any prizes." My son's face fell. I asked what she meant. She said you only qualify after 20 donations, and the prizes start counting from there. So for the headphones, you needed 12 donations after the initial 20. That's 32 total. Most kids left empty-handed. Parents and kids were upset, but my son just stood there trying not to cry. I told him to wait outside with his dad. Then I pulled the teacher and principal aside and called them out. I said it was wrong to get kids excited, have them beg their families for money, then pull the rug out from under them. These are 9 and 10-year-olds. You taught them that trying means nothing, and adults can lie to their faces. The principal tried to cut me off, but I wasn't done. I said the secretary told me 12 donations, not 32. They gave me looks like I was being difficult. The principal said, "It's just how things are due to COVID." I was furious. I said, "So lying to kids is okay because of COVID? Crushing their spirits? You're only open 1 day a week, no real remote learning, but you still ask for donations every week. That makes sense?" The teacher looked uncomfortable, silent. The principal stared at me, so I turned and left. My son cried in the car, saying he did everything right. What could I say? He did exactly what they asked. My husband called me a Karen and said I overreacted, that life isn't fair, and our son should learn that. He worried we made enemies at the school. But I was still mad 2 days later. Then yesterday, a package arrived for my son. Inside were the headphones and a note from the superintendent apologizing for the confusion. He wrote that they want to support families, not turn them away. My son ran around screaming. He's been wearing the headphones nonstop since, even though they aren't charged yet. He just loves having them on. Story. Found out my parents left everything to my brother in their will. So I stopped helping with their bills and extra expenses. A month later, Mom texted me, "The mortgage is due." No greeting, no small talk. I simply replied, Chapter 1, the will. I always thought my parents were fair people. Strict maybe, traditional yes, but fair. So when I found out that their will left everything, the house, the savings, even Dad's old watch to my brother, I felt like the ground shifted beneath me. No explanation, no conversation, just one simple line. To our beloved son, Michael, we leave all our assets. And to me, not even a mention. Still, I swallowed my pride. For years, I kept helping. I paid their electric bills when they couldn't. I covered the pharmacy runs, slipped extra cash into their hands when they were short on groceries. Even after seeing that will, I told myself, they're my parents. It's the right thing to do. But something inside me had cracked. Every dollar I spent on them felt heavier. Every bill I paid reminded me that one day I'd be standing outside the house I grew up in while my brother turned the key. Then came the breaking point. One morning, after paying off their credit card bill yet again, I got a text from Mom. No greeting, no how are you? No warmth, just 4 words. The mortgage is due. I stared at the screen. That was it. Not even a please. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel shame. I felt free. I typed a reply slow and steady, each word like a nail sealing a coffin. Chapter 2, the reply. I stared at Mom's text for a long time. The mortgage is due. 4 words delivered like a command. Not a request, not gratitude, just an expectation that I'd step in again, like I always had. But this time was different. I remembered the will. I remembered the way my brother smirked when I confronted him about it. Well, I am the responsible one, he'd said. Responsible? He hadn't lifted a finger for them in years. My jaw tightened. My thumbs moved slowly across the screen as I typed my reply. Call Michael, he owns everything now, remember? The will said so. He can pay for it. I hit send. For a moment, there was silence. Then the three little dots appeared. Mom was typing. First came guilt tripping. Don't be dramatic. He doesn't have the money. Then came pressure. You know he's not good with finances. We can't rely on him. Finally came anger. You're being selfish. We raised you. You owe us. But I didn't budge. Every message that buzzed my phone only made me calmer. For once, it wasn't my responsibility. I put the phone down, leaned back in my chair, and smiled because I knew something they didn't. The moment I stepped back, the entire house of cards they'd built around my brother would start to collapse, and I was going to watch it all fall. Chapter 3. The collapse begins. The silence lasted 3 days. 3 quiet, peaceful days where I didn't get a single text asking for money. No passive-aggressive calls. No guilt trips. Then the storm hit. On the 4th morning, my brother called. His voice cracked with panic. They sent a notice. The bank. If the mortgage isn't paid by Friday, there will be penalties. What the hell did you tell Mom? I stayed calm. Nothing but the truth. You're the heir. The house is yours. So are the bills. He sputtered. But I can't afford it. I thought you'd cut him off. You thought wrong. That afternoon, Mom texted again. Only this time, the tone was different. We didn't realize how much you contributed. You can't just walk away, but I already had. 2 weeks later, the first foreclosure letter arrived. Neighbors whispered when they saw the notice taped to the front door. My brother tried begging, borrowing, even pawning his car, but it was never enough. And me? I sat back and watched the same family who had called me less, deserving start drowning in the very responsibility they dumped on me for years, but this was only the beginning because I hadn't even used the one card I was still holding, the part of my grandparents' estate they overlooked. Chapter 4. The Overlooked Inheritance. A week later, as foreclosure threats piled up, I finally pulled out the envelope I had been saving. It was my grandparents' will carefully stored in my safe deposit box. Everyone remembered the house and the stocks. But there was one clause they'd all skimmed past, assuming it was meaningless. To my eldest grandchild, I leave sole control of the family trust established in 1989. This trust holds management rights and shares in our rental properties. It cannot be transferred, contested, or revoked. That grandchild was me. The trust controlled not just one property, but 6. All rental homes generating steady income. I'd been quietly collecting checks for months, never mentioning it. To my family, I was just the less successful sibling. Now, as they scrambled to cover bills, I walked into the house they were about to lose and set the folder on the kitchen table. My brother flipped through the papers, his face draining of color. This gives you full ownership. You knew? I leaned back calm. I didn't just know. I planned for it. While you laughed, while Mom told me I wasn't good enough, I secured everything they thought they'd taken. Mom's voice cracked. Please, can you help us? I smiled faintly. I already did. For years, you chose my brother. You chose to cut me out. Now you live with that choice. When the movers came the next morning, they weren't here for me. They were here for them, and I didn't lift a finger. Chapter 5. The social collapse word spread quickly in our small town. My mother and brother weren't just evicted. Everyone learned why. The neighbors whispered, didn't they try to cut him out of the will? At church, people avoided them. Former friends stopped calling, and my brother's business partners. They pulled out of deals, unwilling to trust a man who couldn't even manage his own family affairs. Meanwhile, invitations began arriving for me. The same people who once dismissed me now wanted me at fundraisers, at neighborhood dinners, at family gatherings. Not because of wealth alone, but because I'd proven myself stronger, smarter, untouchable. The final blow came 2 weeks later. My mother showed up at my door clutching a half-filled grocery bag. Her voice was shaking. Please let us stay with you, just until we get back on our feet. I looked her dead in the eye. You chose him. You believed him. You called me worthless. Now you live with that choice. My grandparents gave me this trust to protect me from exactly this. And I won't dishonor them by repeating old mistakes. Her face crumpled. My brother didn't even look up from the car parked on the curb. I shut the door without another word. I turned back to the life I'd built, knowing that revenge doesn't always come in loud explosions or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it comes in silence, in letting those who betrayed you taste the emptiness they created. Because true justice isn't just about what they lose. It's about what you gain. Epilogue. Years later, a life rebuilt. 5 years passed before I thought about that day again. By then, I had rebuilt my life into something steady and dignified. The trust money wasn't just sitting idle. I had invested wisely, building a portfolio of rental properties and a quiet consultancy business that allowed me both income and freedom. My children grew up in stability, never once hearing me raise my voice or seeing me bend under manipulation. Peace had replaced the constant storm, and that peace wasn't bought. It was earned. Their fall. My brother, on the other hand, never recovered. His reputation in town was permanently scarred. Without partners willing to trust him, his business collapsed. He went from boasting about taking everything to asking around for odd jobs just to keep the lights on. As for my mother, she never forgave herself. She chose him over me, thinking she was protecting her stronger son. But when eviction notices and empty bank accounts became her reality, she realized she had sided with weakness disguised as arrogance. People whispered that she lived in regret more than poverty. A quiet encounter. One evening while picking up groceries, I bumped into my brother outside the store. His clothes were worn, his eyes hollow. He tried to speak, but all that came out was, You really won, didn't you?" I looked him straight in the eye and said quietly, "No, I just didn't lose myself." Then I walked away. The lesson. In the end, revenge wasn't about gloating or shouting. It wasn't even about the money. It was about letting them feel the weight of their own decisions while I carried mine with pride. The greatest revenge. Living with dignity, while those who betrayed you are trapped in the mess they created. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice and share this story with someone who needs its fire. Subscribe to Revenge Exposed, and because here betrayals don't sleep. They hunt their owners. Every shadow hides a reckoning. Every mask breaks, and every betrayal is answered. Stay sharp, stay unbroken.